Hey you guys, it's Gigi and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been able to tell by the title, I am doing a Pretty Little Liars collab with Rosey Gemby. So the season finale of season 5 happened about a week or two ago, and Rosey and I were literally up all night trying to figure out who A was and who Charles was, because that name just kind of came out of nowhere. So if you haven't seen season 5 finale just yet, I would highly recommend that you do not watch this, because there may be a lot of spoilers that you don't want to know. But if you're fine with spoilers, keep on watching. So the collab that Rosey and I are doing is we're just basically telling our opinion and giving our theories to who A is and what we thought about this season finale. So I feel like the season finale was the biggest cliffhanger, and it was just so random, but it was true to the Pretty Little Liars style, I have to admit. In the season 5 finale, we find that Mona is alive. I wasn't surprised by that. Janelle Parrish, who plays the role of Mona, was on Dancing with the Stars, so she couldn't be on the show, which is why they killed her off, and then once the show ended she was back on. So I mean, I was not shocked at all to find out that Mona was alive. I called it. I said they just killed her off for Dancing with the Stars, so that wasn't a shocker. But basically, A kidnaps the girls while they are en route to their jail. And it puts the girls in this underground dollhouse that they have created. And the dollhouse is full of replicas of their rooms and different rooms of their homes. So all the girls have an individual room, but the De Laurentiis' home has more replica rooms. You have Allison's room, you have their living room, and you have their basement. So A wanted them to have their prom there, but it was a very specific prom. It was prom from 7 years ago, which ended up being Melissa Hastings' prom. Why pick a prom that the girls weren't around for? There's something obviously significant to A in this prom. So he wants them to recreate this prom. They have determined that A is Charles because when they were in the replica De Laurentiis attic, there were these blocks of letters, and Spencer, in true Spencer Hastings forms, mixes all the letters together and was able to make out the name Charles. So in true style, this is their theory, and they are literally running with this theory. So now they believe that this person who has them captive is Charles. I don't know who Charles is. Do you guys know who Charles is? Because I have no clue who this is. And mind you, I watched all 5 seasons in a 3-week span. I'd never watched the show up until then. I watched all 3 seasons in a 3-week span. All 5 seasons, I'm sorry. So it's really fresh in my mind, and I don't ever remember a Charles. So that was just really random. So the girls managed to kind of trick this Charles person, and as they're running out of this underground dungeon in true form, Spencer comes upon a room. I don't know whose room this is supposed to be replicated out of because it didn't look familiar to me. But in the room, there was a popcorn machine and there was a movie player. It kind of made me think it was Aria, because Aria and her family seem to be the biggest on movies, especially old kind of movies. So I assumed that it was Aria's living room, and also because in Aria's replicated room there was a picture frame, and in the picture frame there was a mannequin of a mom, a dad, a little boy, and a little girl, and that same exact mannequin from the picture was in that living room. So I just kind of put 2 and 2 together and figured it might have been Aria's room. So Spencer goes in and she flicks the switch to turn the home video on, and in the home video you see Mrs. De Laurentiis holding a baby, and then you see 2 boys that are blonde haired, and she tells one of them, why don't you come over and give your sister a kiss? So of course everyone is now thinking that this is Allison, and that these 2 boys are Jason and his twin brother Charles. Now while she's watching this video, Charles comes up behind her really close, like this, straight out of a horror movie, and she senses it, and she turns around, she's like, Charles, and Charles just stares at her. He doesn't do anything. He just stares at her. Okay. So Mona calls for Spencer, and when she turns around to look at Mona, just like in any good horror movie, Charles disappears. So when Mona gets in there, she picks up a picture frame. And in the picture frame, there's a little boy. And the little boy looked just like Andrew. Like, it looked like a younger version of Andrew. So now that leads that Charles is actually Andrew. So the girls try to get out. And they come to find out that they are surrounded by electric wire fence in the middle of literally nowhere. Like, remember that movie Camp Nowhere? They are literally in the middle of the forest of, like, nowhere. Cray cray. So now all these theories are circulating. There's so many different theories out there. Well, the actual cast members of the show, with the exception of Lucy Hale, who plays Aria Montgomery, know who A is. And they have given subtle hints. So Keegan, who plays Toby, says that you see A in season 1 and season 3. And that once you find out who A is, it's going to all make sense. And he also says that when you find out who A is, you're going to understand why A is so mentally twisted and what his personal vendetta is against all these girls. Then Troyan, who plays Spencer Hastings, went on to say that A is someone very close to them. So after evaluating all of what, you know, the cast members have said, and based on how the season finale went and just the show overall as a whole, there are some things that I've noticed and some things that I just kind of want to bring to light from my perspective. First of all, everyone's saying that Mona was originally A. I don't believe that Mona was ever A. I believe that Mona was A's minion. But Mona was like A's head honcho minion because Mona was the smartest. Mona was smart because Mona could think like Allison, because Allison's no dummy. I mean, did you see that girl stayed in, like, hidden incognito for, like, 4 or 5 seasons? Only coming back to really help her friends when they were in, like, dire distress. So I honestly don't believe that Mona was ever A. I feel like Mona was always a minion of A. And then when A turned on Mona, Mona wanted to try and get back at A. So I guess that's me debunking one theory of Mona being A. The second thing that I want to say is that as far as suspects go, I feel like Melissa is A. Melissa is my biggest suspect. Keegan said that if you watch seasons 1 and 3, you see A. It's very obvious. And then Troyan says that A is someone that's very close to the girls. This is why I personally think that Melissa Hastings is A. Melissa was there for everything throughout all the seasons. Not just seasons 1 and 3, but like all the seasons. She was there for legitimately everything. Like every dance, every festivity she was there for. Then the prom, remember when I told you about the prom? He wanted them to recreate a prom from 7 years ago. That prom was the prom that Melissa took Ian to. And Spencer said that. And I felt like it was very significant for them to have had that in the script, that they say that Spencer say it was the prom that Melissa took Ian to. Okay? Ian, along with Jason De Laurentiis and Garrett, who was the cop that died, they were part of this group in high school that they created where they spied on everybody and had video evidence of all different types of things that went down. Okay? So therefore, since Melissa was dating Ian, she would have had the same exact access to that information. Not only was Melissa around for all the things that the girls were going through, Melissa was also around when Allison went missing. Melissa said that in a letter to Spencer that she had found Allison in a ditch, and she thought that Spencer had done it because she saw Spencer dragging a shovel. So to protect Spencer, she like dug a grave for Allison. But then when it came out that Allison was alive, it's like, whoa, whose body is there? So who did I bury alive? Questions. So Melissa pretty much admitted to being right there and to burying Allison, or who she thought was Allison, alive. Melissa's very close to the girls. And because her boyfriend was, you know, in on that whole nosotros whatever, we see all thing, she would have known everybody's secrets. So Melissa just looks real guilty. And on top of that, if you think about it, when you think of all the seasons, Spencer and her family was the one that barely got any hits. Like, Hannah got the most hits. Then came Aria. Those were the two easiest targets. Emily I would say came in third, because Emily, once she owned up that she was a lesbian, she was very open about a lot of different things, and the only thing she had to worry about was protecting her like the people that she loved and whatnot. But Spencer barely got anything wrong with her, with the exception of like her having like a mental breakdown because she was over processing this whole entire thing. Spencer barely got anything. And if you remember, Melissa said to Spencer on one episode, you need to be careful or you're gonna get yourself hurt. And like I said, when in the final episode, when Spencer was sitting there looking at that video, what's his face, Charles, could have easily snapped her neck. He could have easily killed her, and he didn't. So that means that whoever this guy is in the mask, whether his name is Charles, whether his name is Bethany, whether his name is Rachel, because if you rearrange those letters, you can get Rachel S. as well as Charles. So whoever that is in the mask, they have not blatantly hurt Spencer at all when you really think about it. So I think whoever is doing this, they are like legitimately, they don't want to hurt Spencer and they don't want to hurt Allison. And I really do believe it's because they're related to them. In one episode, Allison said that Spencer was her sister. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, yeah, your older brother is your half brother and her half brother, but that doesn't make you sisters. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, what if Spencer's father isn't Mr. Hastings? What if Spencer's father is Mr. De Laurentiis? Like, what if Mrs. Hastings and Mr. De Laurentiis decide to have an affair to get back at Mr. Hastings and Mrs. De Laurentiis for having an affair, and Spencer was the product? Basically, I think at Melissa's prom, some serious secrets came out, and Melissa had a huge vendetta against everybody and wanted to bring everybody down. As far as whose body is in that casket, there are two people who I think could be in that casket. I'm thinking it is either Bethany or it is Sarah. And Sarah was the girl that went missing from a few towns over the same time as Allison. Because think about it. The night Allison went missing, Allison's mother buried her alive to protect someone. Mrs. Grungewall pulled her out. The girl that died had stuff in her lungs, had dirt in her lungs, which means she died of asphyxiation. Who was that girl? We don't know. That girl was never identified. Why was she never identified? Because people were messing with that case from day one. They had to use the dental records. Remember, the body wasn't found until a year later, so by face value, you don't know who it is. So they needed dental records in order to figure out who it was. The dental records were switched. We knew it wasn't Allison because Allison had broken her arm. And the girl in that video, the girl in the autopsy didn't have a broken arm. So therefore, it wasn't Allison. So it's just like a lot of different things are just kind of like not really making any sense. But the fact that Melissa just happens to pop up in everything constantly. And then remember at the end of season 2 when they were at the masquerade ball, Melissa was the Black Swan, and Melissa was talking to Lucas, and the Black Swan pictures or whatever was in Mona's lair, and Melissa tried to say that, oh, I had to do it, you know, A wanted me to do it, but like, I don't think so. I just feel like Melissa looks real sus right now. So that's my take on Melissa. The next person who I thought could be A was Toby, because Toby wouldn't want to hurt Spencer because he loves her, which is why he may not have wanted to hurt her. You know what I'm saying? But my theory with Toby was that since his mom was in Radley, maybe Bethany was his sister, and he was trying to get back at them for killing his sister. Because remember, Melissa only admitted to burying this girl alive. And then Allison said to the girls, even though I drugged you, there was a lot about that night that y'all, if you think hard enough, will remember. And that topic was never revisited again. That's all I'm gonna say. It's never revisited again. So when it comes to finding out who A is and how my thought process works is, Keegan says you see A in seasons 1 and 3. Tryon says that A is someone close to the girls. So therefore, A would have to be someone that we know. A has to be someone that we know, someone that we have like an idea about or have some kind of a bond in our mind with, like how we have a bond with all the liars and all the characters in general. A is someone that we have a bond with, and I feel like A is going to be the person that we least suspect, which is why I'm thinking A is Melissa. And I feel like everybody is just their minion, is just her minion. And I think that the guy who they're calling Charles, because A only shows them what A wants them to see. A never incriminates his or herself. That's something we also have to remember. So I feel like A knew that Spencer was the most inquisitive, and A wanted Spencer to find something out, which is why Spencer was the one that went in there and found that home video. I'm telling you guys, I really feel like Melissa is A. And we all see how Melissa can be ruthlessly mean to her own sister. So if she can be that way to her own sister, why can't she be that way to other people? That's just my theory. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, I legitimately just feel like it's Melissa. I could be wrong, but I love hearing different theories, and I can't wait for you guys to see Rosey's theories, because like I said, she and I, we've been texting back and forth for hours and days on end, coming up with these theories. And just let me know what you think. Let me know, just let me know what your opinion is on the season 5 finale and who you think A is. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to go over to Rosey's channel and see her theories and her babble on the Pretty Little Liars collab. And don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share, because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for your continued love and support. I love you all. Bye.